Hi guys, in this video we are going to talk about some problems that Gio is mentioning regarding differences in Filipino culture or language and Western language. Before we dive in, just let me remind you to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And the reason I'm asking you to hit the like button is for the AI algorithm that YouTube is using, and it's for your benefit actually to click the like button when you see a video that you actually like, because YouTube will suggest similar videos in the future that you might like to watch. So it's for your benefit to eliminate junk videos, and you will just be presented with videos that you enjoy watching. And so after you click like and subscribe, let's see what Gio has to say, and I will comment as we go here.
So I want to talk about this because throughout my time here and talking to others, this happens quite often. And we'll start off with like words and terms here, but even for us and vice versa, just because we both speak English here, doesn't mean that we're always going to totally understand exactly what we say. For example, when I was at the airport and they had announced over the intercom, they said your flight is indefinitely your flight is going to be late. The arrival time we don't know. It's indefinite. We don't know when it will be. It's indefinite, and I'm thinking to myself, indefinite, you know. Obviously, I know what if you look up the term, it doesn't mean forever, but it's an amount of time that you just have no idea that when it's going to be. That's basically what they're saying, is that they don't know exactly when it's going to be. Well, you know, when we hear that word as Americans, or, you know, wherever you're from, we think, oh my God, this flight could be canceled for the day, and maybe it won't be, maybe it'll have to be rebooked or something. But it ended up only being maybe 45 minutes late. And when I heard the word indefinite, I was thinking, oh boy, what is going on? So miscommunication or misunderstanding, you know, on my part on just how they use the word. Now I know that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be forever. Also, the term for a while, or can you wait a while? I'll give you two examples. I went into a shop to get my motorbike worked on, and he said, it's for a while, sir. There were several people ahead of me for a while, and so I was curious. I didn't want to sit around all day, and for a while means indefinite amount of time for me. It could be till the end of the day, you know, I don't know. And he said, better you come back tomorrow. Well, instead of saying, you know, we're pretty much going to be booked, we're too busy to even get you in for the day, he just said, for a while, sir. And I'm thinking, you know, I could have been sitting around here all day, and I would have had no idea I'm not even going to be brought in to have my bike worked on.
Yeah, I'm surprised Gio brings this up, but maybe he's just mentioning this for the video. But wait for a while in the Philippines doesn't mean hours or days. It just means for a moment. That's what the literal translation from Tagalog means. It's just wait for a moment. And the Filipino culture has this kind of built-in structure, or this attitude of being polite and gentle when there's something that's not working or is not performing as expected, where they add something indefinite, or they add the word a while. But, you know, for us Westerners, we're like, you know, mechanical by the clock. You know, we expect to be on time for appointments, etc. In the Philippines, the culture is much more flexible. You know, when you make an appointment for a certain time, it doesn't mean exactly at 12 o'clock or at 1 p.m. or whatever. It means around or even sometimes it's a bit annoying. 2 hours later is still okay. It's not in my book, but the Filipino culture is very flexible and gentle in terms of a while or indefinite or whatever, but it doesn't always mean hours. Usually when they say for a while, it just means please wait a moment.
Other times, I've been standing in line. I'm literally the next person in the line, and the lady said, "For a while, sir." And I'm thinking, okay, is there more people that I don't know about? Maybe people have a number or something. They're waiting elsewhere. And literally 1 minute later, I'm called up. So the "for a while" could really mean a very short time, or it could be a long time. It seems like there's no definite answer exactly how much time it means. In the U.S.
There is a definite answer. The literal translation is for a moment.
In the U.S., we say, well, or we learn, customer service-wise anyway, we learn to say, it's going to be, about 5-10 minutes. We like to hear like specific times. You make a phone call, in the U.S. and they have to put you on hold. They'll still say the hold time is going to be this long to this long. Well, in the Philippines, they'll put you on hold and they'll say, "Okay, for a while, sir. I'm going to put you on hold. I'll be back in a while."
Yeah, they're just trying to be polite. Filipino culture is trying to soften the blow of the news that something is not working or performing as expected. We Westerners, we take it literally, meaning while is hours or days, but it just means for a moment.
They don't give you any exact time, or they don't tell you 5-10 minutes or anything like that. So that can be a miscommunication. So there's a bunch of these words that have misunderstandings or miscommunication. Now, there can be extreme words. For example, the word exotic.
Yeah, there are many other words, but there is an undertow of kind of pressure from people when you're communicating. Especially with single young Filipinas, they have pressure from their parents to always be aware of or considering the lack of affluence in the society or with families here in the Philippines. And when they come across a foreigner which they view as rich, they kind of like work into their dialogue ways to kind of be careful and kind of have altered meanings. And when you say to your girlfriend, "Oh, you're gonna go to a foreign country and take a beautiful vacation and go to a nice hotel," they kind of have a mixed reaction that they think maybe, oh, their parents will be jealous, or their cousins will be jealous, or their cousins want to come along but they can't because they have work, etc. And we're so lucky to go on a beautiful vacation to Thailand or some other nearby country. So they're kind of like hesitant sometimes to show their enthusiasm of a beautiful vacation with a rich foreigner to another country. In fact, one time, and I still don't know the answer or explanation for this, last year I made a big lunch with a friend who's a chef and he knows how to make good food. And I invited both parents and the girlfriend to join me for this presumptuous lunch. And when the girlfriend told the mother, she was physically slapped on the face, and she was prevented, she was denied any dating with me for a couple of months, I think it was. And when I asked the girlfriend, what happened, why, what did I say wrong, or what did we do wrong? And I never got an answer or got a clear answer, and the girlfriend was puzzled as well as I was. But what I can kind of guess at is that the parents thought that was a lot of money to spend for just a single lunch, and they are still struggling to pay the bills and pay the rent and pay the electricity, whatever, and perhaps they were just embarrassed or felt there was no way to solve their financial problems by having this gorgeous lunch. And that's what they were thinking about. That was what they were worried about. If I instead perhaps have offered to give them 5,000 pesos instead of a lunch, maybe they would have been more happy. I don't know. But if any of you guys listening to this can have any explanation for why the girlfriend was physically slapped on the face and told not to see me for several months, that would be helpful. I'm still puzzled to this day. But there is a language problem here, but it's not just language. There's an undertow of financial struggle or financial pressure. So yeah, I just want to tell my story. That's funny. But some other words that kind of make me laugh is when you hear you go to the bank and you see a sign that says "fall in line." It doesn't mean you fall over and in a line. No, it comes from more of a British military wording, where fall in line is kind of like an authoritarian sort of command to line up in a queue. It doesn't mean fall over. And then open the light or close the light is another phrase they use here in the Philippines. Of course, we know that means turn on or turn off the light. And comfort room in the Philippines is often used instead of bathroom or restroom. And nosebleed is another funny one. Took me a while to understand this. It doesn't mean that they have a bleeding nose, but it means basically they're having problem understanding or communicating in English, and it's a challenge. Somebody's having a challenge, and they call it a nosebleed. So there are some differences, but like I said, there are some underlying themes or undertows about the financial difficulties that most people have in the Philippines, and that kind of flavors the conversation a lot.
I was always led to believe that you're an exotic beauty meant you're different. You don't look like the everyday woman here. You're, maybe an island beauty with nice tan skin and long black hair and exotic features. Well, here they think that means you're ugly, or I don't know. They have a whole, if you ask a Filipino about exotic, they don't like that word. And I've gotten in trouble using that word exotic a few times here. So there are a handful of words and phrases going both ways that will be misunderstood. There's oftentimes that you will say something and a Filipino will misunderstand it and think it's something bad. So just be careful and know that maybe your girlfriend is giving you some tampo or she's upset. Well, and you think to yourself, gosh, I didn't say anything wrong. We didn't have any problem. What's the deal here? It could be that she misunderstood a word that you said. I've had that happen. Not so much with my...
Yeah, it helps to have a girlfriend that's fairly read up on English language or has watched American movies. But there's always going to be some words that trips the girl up, and she might get tampo because of it.
So much with Maya. Maya's really well read and very much into watching movies and sitcoms and things like that. But there's others that may not quite understand that or don't really watch so much American TV or read books. So, yeah. The last one I want to discuss is our humor. Our humor does not always go over well. Our humor can be very different. And I think this really is probably the same with like the UK and Australia, Canada. We can have, you know, a sense of humor, like a dry sense of humor, or we can be sarcastic. In fact, the group of guys that I hang around with when we go and have coffee, we're always like cutting each other down, you know, making little digs at each other. All of us can sit there and agree, and I think you guys, please comment down below and let me know. But if you have a sarcastic humor and try to use that with a Filipina, that does not always go over very well.
Yeah, in fact, I was lucky enough to grow up in Europe, and I can see the American sarcasm. They call it humor. I don't call it humor. I think it's cutting people down. You know, what's the point of making somebody feel bad if you can be cheerful and upbeat and positive when you meet a good friend? What's the point of putting somebody down? I just don't understand that myself. So sorry, Gio, if you and your friends make a lot of sarcastic jokes, as you call it. I would probably excuse myself and not be part of your group. But definitely it doesn't work with Filipinos. In fact, in United States or Western world, we have what's called a negative compliment, which is used in the dating community to cut a woman down a little bit if she's very flamboyant, or if she's very stuck up, or if she's very desirable, or she feels she's desirable. She looks at herself as very valuable. Sometimes what's used in the dating community is what's called a negative compliment. It's an example would be, you have a nice dress for a Filipino, or your hair looks good, but what about a different hair color, or something, you know, sort of a compliment with a negative hook on it, to try to put the woman in her place or put her down a little bit, to make her a little less stuck up or a little less valuing herself. And that does not work in the Philippines. It may work in the United States or Western world, but it does not work in the Philippines.
It will cause arguments, it will cause tampo, and you just have to ask other guys in relationships with Filipinos, and they will tell you the same thing. So you have to tread lightly with the sarcasm. You got to be careful with that. It's better to try to just kind of avoid it. Maybe you can test out and see how she reacts to it. Again, Maya, who's well read, you know, she loves to read American sitcoms and movies. She gets the sarcasm and she dishes it back, but it doesn't always go over well with Maya. You know, there's sometimes like, why would you say that? And I'm like, it's just a joke. That's not funny. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, I don't agree with sarcasm or using that in normal communication. What's the point? You know, if you're upbeat and feeling positive, and you don't have anything positive to say, you should just shut up. You know, what's the fun in putting somebody down or making a negative compliment? What's the positive outcome of that? I mean, I grew up in a different country, so I see the Western culture, I mean the American culture, a little bit differently. But I still have never gotten used to the American sarcasm. That's just, it's too low for me, and I don't agree with it.
I would love to hear from you guys about different words or misunderstandings that you've had from the word that they've used, and also vice versa, maybe a word that you've used that they didn't like, and sarcasm and your sense of humor. And you know, when I used to go out, you know, I used to be able to like make jokes. Like you'd make a joke that's funny about maybe the cashier. I remember the other day, they ask you here, they put in the amount, and they'll say, "Is this okay? Is this correct, sir? Is this okay?" And I'm thinking, so I made a joke and said something like, No, can you make it less? Ha ha ha. And she took it as you're flirting with her. So even our jokes, like if you try to joke with somebody who's like a cashier or somebody else, and you try to make them laugh, well, that is considered flirting.
Yeah, actually, Gio, it's not just making a joke with a female in front of your girlfriend. It's actually prolonging the conversation with a girl longer than would be appropriate or longer than would be normal for whatever transaction you're doing. That would be considered flirting, and Filipinos are very sensitive to that. You should not be having a conversation with a person of the opposite gender for too long if it's not your girlfriend. You should just be doing business or the enough conversation to complete the transaction. Don't, and of course, don't make a joke. But it's not about joke. It's if you're having a longer than regular conversation with somebody strange in the mall or in the bookstore or in any kind of store, that's considered flirting.
Even if you're together and there's a waitress or something, and you try to say something funny, sometimes that can be perceived as flirting. So, even though they do speak English well here, for the most part, a lot of them do. There's a lot that don't, but they do for the most part in the cities and stuff. They do speak English well, and you may be able to communicate fine. But just remember, there are going to be words and phrases and things back and forth that you misunderstand, she misunderstands. The sarcasm may not go over well. Your humor, I guess if you try to make somebody else laugh, if it's somebody of the opposite sex, that can be considered flirting. So tread lightly when you are in a new relationship here in the Philippines. Careful with your sarcasm. Careful with trying to make other girls laugh, even if it's said to make everybody laugh. They may not find it so funny. And the words again. So this is where I would love to hear your experience, any situations you've had with your girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear and read all about that. That'd be funny, and it's good for other people to know too. Again, the one that comes off the top of my head is don't use the word exotic. They don't like that. Sometimes they don't like the word cute either.
Yeah, there are some words that are not favored, but the underlying theme of all of this is even though they speak the same language, which is English, there is an underlying theme or like an undertow of financial pressure, because Philippines is a poor country and it just seeps into every conversation that you have with your girlfriend or even with her family, and it kind of gets misunderstood or kind of gets forced or pushed in a weird direction sometimes that you don't fully understand. Like if you suggest to go on a beautiful trip to an island in the Philippines on a vacation in a hotel, they might sort of initially be excited, but then they start thinking about their relatives or their poor family that stays behind back home, and they feel bad about taking the vacation with you. It's kind of like it's kind of like a crab mentality. They they all want to hold themselves back. It's not very healthy attitude, but I've noticed this, and I think it might explain also the reason that I described with my girlfriend about she being slapped on the face by her mother when the girlfriend suggested an expensive lunch outing with me and the family. But yeah, that one's still a mystery even to me to this day. So let me know, guys, if any of you guys have any suggestions what that might be all about.